Hello, welcome to the Comic Book Club. I'm your host, Jamil Payne. And with me today is my partner as we march towards World War III and the end of human civilization, Amanda Comey. How are you doing, Amanda?
I am warming up to dodge that draft as fast as I can, or some other relevant joke about the impending doom of the universe. I don't know.
I would say something. The internet don't take shit seriously, because as soon as it happened, literally 800 memes popped up at once. I swear to God, like just all the memes joking about World War III has popped up, and this is a serious situation. I'm just like, this is how we die, laughing. We're gonna die laughing. That's what's gonna happen because we can't take shit seriously. They should never gave us internet.
I mean, yeah, and some people cope with trauma by laughing, but that's not what is going on Twitter.
Now, Amanda, talking about one international catastrophe, let's segue into a
bit of domestic terrorism, perhaps.
Yes. If you want to call, from what I heard, that's what we should call it. Amanda, you seen Cats?
Yeah, I've seen Cats. The movie Cats.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have any questions about Cats?
How was the Jellicle Ball?
The Jellicle Ball was great.
How many times did they say Jellicle?
Per sentence, or no, it's okay, so here's the thing. I'm a dancer. Growing up, I saw the movie, not the movie. I saw the musical, and there was definitely a year where my dance studio just used the soundtrack for our recital. So I actually knew most of the words to most of the songs, which was kind of horrifying. I went to this with one of my friends, and he thought we were going ironically, and then he looks over at me and he goes, "Shit!" he's like, "You actually know this." So as a dancer, Cats is a dance-heavy musical,
right?
And the whole plot, music, whatever, is just kind of like a tenuous premise to watch people dance for an hour and a half, which is very impressive to watch people and sing and dance in front of you live for an hour and a half, and to see that they're still running around stage and flipping and turning and really devoted to the illusion that they're pretending to be cats, is fun to watch. When you take the live performance aspect of it away, like when you know that they got to go home and sleep and rehearse for 2 days in between each number, it's no longer impressive in the same way. And when they're covered in CGI, things like, like in ballet, you're very concerned with like foot position. If it's CGI and I can tell, I'm also sitting there going, well, maybe they fixed her feet when they did the CGI too. So like, it just kind of, there was no way to enjoy the performance aspect of it, and you were just left with the hilarious, tenuous plot that makes no sense, and the weird, you actually had to listen to the lyrics of the song, and there's nothing else there. So that's my actual critical review of the movie Cats. I've got a few other funny rants about it, but I don't know. That's probably the most serious discussion you've seen about it, right?
So I got a confession to make. I fucking love Cats. Not this movie.
Good. Okay.
This movie.
Uh-huh.
But I love the play. I watched the play when I was like, when did that play come out? I think like for TV. I think I might have been like 11 or 12, I believe.
Okay.
And I always wanted to see it. And like it would come through Atlanta, but nobody was gonna take me to see that shit. Not where I'm from. So so when it finally came to PBS, I would just sit there and watch it. I'm like, oh, and I loved it, man. I loved every bit of it. Now that I'm older, I realize how kind of bad it is, but I still have a soft spot for it.
Yeah.
But man, this movie looks like nightmare fuel.
Yeah, like I said, if you can't be impressed by the performances enough to kind of ignore the premise, it's just weird.
How was my dude?
Um,
How was my dude Rum Tum Tugger in there?
oh, he did great.
Okay,
Uh,
Jason Derulo played Rum Tum.
yeah, he did great. That was fine. Uh, yeah. I mean, like the performances were fine. I want to say it was a little unnerving for the first half of the movie. Idris Elba as McCavity had sort of like a big fur jacket on,
Right.
just like a little gangster looking. It like, you're like, oh, he's like a big shaggy, like, you know,
Uh huh.
street cat or whatever. And then he shows up again halfway through the movie and he like doesn't have the coat and you're just like, oh God, he's naked now.
Well, I seen the one scene where Rebel Wilson, why she's in this movie, I have no clue. Zips off her fur to have a jacket on with more fur, which just brings more questions than it does answers.
Okay, so that's one of those things where the first time you see it, you kind of excuse it as like a dream sequence performance number.
Right.
What's really unnerving is that later on, the most of the soloists are kidnapped by McCavity
Uh huh.
during the course of the musical. Um, in the movie, they actually show the soloist like escaping from McCavity, and she escapes by unzipping her fur again. So it's like a they've doubled down and said, no, this is a physical thing. Jenny Anydots is actually wearing a cat suit on top of her cat body, and she can unzip it so that she can squeeze out of like the ropes that they're tied up in.
That's horrifying.
Yes, yes, like they said, we're accustomed to weird things happening in musicals that aren't strictly speaking physical reality. No, they were like, yes, this happened.
But even as a dream sequence, like hear me out, right? Even if she does it once, and you said you can excuse it as a dream sequence, right?
Hmm.
If a human, if you see a human, even in a dream sequence, unzip their skin to have more skin under there, but with a jacket on, that would be horrifying. I don't care if it is a dream, but so it's just all weird, man. It just it doesn't.
Yeah.
It like their heads are floating in the middle of their body, in the middle of the cat body. Like I wonder how much was CG and how much was like makeup. Cause from my understanding, the director didn't use like traditional ways of you would do this type of thing.
Hmm.
Like the ways that would probably make it look better.
Yeah, somehow he was fine with it looking like the longest video game cutscene ever.
Yeah, like personally, I just don't know why he didn't put everybody in tight body suits with dots all over their face and body, like normal human beings. Like that's like any other film director would have did, but he went with cat suits.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Um, there were a few there were a few bright points.
okay.
I think my favorite was Ian McKellen was absolutely there. Like how sometimes cameos or guest spots like this, the really prestigious celebrities will just sort of phone it in. The only person in the entire movie to actually say meow out loud was Sir Ian McKellen. The first time he shows up, he's just like meow meow meow, and you're just like jaw dropping. Like he actually just said meow out loud. It's some sort of like fourth wall breaking that.
You know why, don't you?
Why?
McCallan, people like McCallan and Patrick Stewart, honestly, and was it Michael Caine, right?
Yeah.
They're very much from the British school of we'll take any job and do whatever the hell you tell me to do with
Yeah.
gusto if you pay me.
Yeah.
And like other performers, just don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, they phone it in. Like Brando and Superman, he phones that shit in, right? But McKellen has been in some awful movies. But he always give it his best because those old British actors just have this mentality about stuff like that, which I appreciate, right? You know, like Michael Caine was in Jaws 4 for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I do too.
I just don't know if literally saying the word meow out loud as though it's some sort of Super Troopers joke. like, and you know, I'm sure that that didn't have to be left in either, but they're just like, yes. Ian McKellen as Gus the theater cat showing up, just going meow meow is fine. We're just gonna leave it in there. So that was the highlight of the movie for me.
Okay.
So I have one more observation about cats,
Right.
which
Okay.
may be related to our actual comic book discussion today, which is the issue of projection. So most of the jokes that I've seen on Twitter or Reddit or other online resources are joking about how horny the movie is.
How horny is the movie? Well, Cats is pretty horny itself. The regular Cats is kind of horny.
Okay, that's where I want to talk about projection. So for most of the movie, it's really just stylized, vaguely feline body language.
I get where you're going with this. Okay.
Yeah, so if you look at a bunch of people crawling around on the floor behaving like cats and you get turned on, that might be on you. There is definitely a little bit there, the sort of like smooth, confident, I guess articulate, like, and I'm getting a little dancery here, but there is definitely something like it's very like Bob Fosse was like that, like a lot
Yes.
of like a little bit of Michael Jackson's choreography has that element in it. So there is a kernel under there of like, yes, if you move like a cat, it is perceived as being sexy. But if it's literally a bunch of people with like cat ears and tails and they're crawling around like cats and you go, wow, this movie's really horny, you're adding a little bit to it. And advertising that is a little funny to me.
And you know, dancing in general gets a bad rep for being over sexual when it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's huh?
No, you're absolutely right. I will come back and say it is, I would say, objectively pretty horny too.
Yeah, I'm about to say I kind of remember it being kind of, but again, that could just because I was like 12 and there's a bunch of women like in tight outfits. Like I mean, they're cat suits, but they're really tight cat suits because you know it has to be. It has to be.
Well, yeah, and I would say that what they added was they took one of the cats from the chorus and made her a point of view character, and sort of implied that like all of the cats that are introducing themselves, which is also funny, you could make that a drinking game, but all of the cats are introducing to themselves to her specifically because she's the new cat and she's interesting and she's like the young pretty one. And so there is a little bit of like specifically all of the cats are trying to impress the one newest youngest female cat that just showed up.
Is that the Taylor Swift character?
No.
Okay. And I got one question. Just how was Jennifer Hudson singing "Memory"? How was that?
That was fine. She showed up and did what she had to do. Yeah.
No, but like, was it like because you know that's the song, right?
Yes. That's the only song that escaped the musical.
Yeah. Does she like I'm sure she does a good job, but does she do a great job? Does she embodies that song? Kind of like what she did in Dreamgirls with the one song. You know what I'm saying? Is she's bringing it to that level? You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I feel like it was maybe a little hard to tell because the CGI and stuff is so distracting.
Okay.
right? 'Cause it's sort of like you're watching her performance through like a foggy mirror. Um, but I mean, I think she did a great job. I don't think she did an amazing job. Like, I don't think we're gonna be. It doesn't save the movie.
Okay. Well, you know what, man? I think we have talked about cats way too long for this comic book podcast.
Okay, but I do want to keep the idea of projection in mind.
Gotcha.
That sometimes of that if you look at something and you have an observation or an assumption about it, you might be saying something about yourself instead.
Today, today we are talking Hex Wives. Hex Wives is a Vertigo comic, rest in peace, written by Ben Blacker with art by Mirka Andolfo. It was published October 31st, 2018, Halloween, to March 2019. It consists of 6 issues. Amanda, could you please let the audience know what Hex Wives is about?
So, this book was recommended to me by the employee at my local comic book store who gets my pull list for me. And he looked at the books I'd been reading and he looked at how I was dressed and he was like, I got a book for you. And he pitched it to me as Witches versus the Patriarchy.
Uh-huh.
And he said this was housewives who were secretly witches, discovering that their husbands had been controlling everything and that they were coming into their powers and learning to fight the metaphorical man, which I think is a pretty good description of what the book aspires to be. But I think the experience of reading it was a little bit pulpier.
Amanda, what did you think overall of it, besides it being pulpy?
I liked reading it. I think I wanted like more, or I wanted it to either go faster or slower or something. I felt like I wanted more information about the things that were implied and less information about the things we were actually shown in detail.
Gotcha.
Does that?
No, that makes perfectly good sense.
But I really liked the art. I liked the clothing and the hair and stuff. You get a lot of characterization that way. I liked some of the characters. I liked the overall idea. I think this is one of those things where if Vertigo had not disappeared and this book had maybe gotten another volume, it could have grown into a much better series.
I think it will eventually, but it's weird that it's not continuing as we speak.
Well, it's canceled and Vertigo doesn't exist anymore. So, like, I don't know
what they're gonna... It's canceled? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It got canceled, and then also the publisher doesn't exist anymore. Like, DC Black Label wouldn't really do this kind of book. I don't know if they would follow Karen Berger to Dark Horse or something, but I think that it's much easier to choose to cancel a book when you've gotten rid of that imprint.
Yeah, damn.
So I think it's somewhat a victim of timing.
Okay.
I think this book would have been given a better shot if it had an obvious home.
Okay. So, for me, Amanda, as you know, I really don't like woke shit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like talking about the patriarchy. I don't like buzzwords like, lit. Well, there's not even a buzzword, but like new slang like lit or what's the new one? What is it called? When you
eat?
Huh?
Eat?
Tangent. This is a tangent for everybody, okay? Cause I seen this on Twitter way too late, and for me to respond, right? A famous video game lady asked what yeet means, right?
Uh-huh.
I explained yeet meant that like it's like an exclamation mark. It's something you say at the end of a sentence to emphasize an action, right? Like, you shoot a basketball, you go yeet. You know what I'm saying? You do a bunch of flips. You like yo yeet. And not only hear me out, okay? Not only does it mean that, right, Amanda, I'm gonna tell you something. Yeet has been around 30 goddamn years or longer. And
Wow.
and I'll explain.
So we're yeet babies.
Oh, look, so yeet was originated in Atlanta. It's Atlanta. Most slang today it originate from Atlanta, right? So all these like trill, I think trill is another one. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's been around. You
No,
can't,
you don't know what you're saying.
huh?
Go ahead.
Like trill, right? That means 3 times as real, right? I seen an article said that's a millennial word. Rappers been saying that word for at least 35 years, right? But like yeet specifically, it's an Atlanta word that we invented that I used to say when I was a kid, and I explained this to this lady, and some white dude and some Asian lady said I was wrong, but I didn't see this till like 3 months later because I'll never check my Twitter to respond. But it made me really angry that someone tried to explain that two people that wasn't black tried to explain to me, a 35-year-old black man from Atlanta, that yeet wasn't a 30 old word. Like, no, it's like
Did you get like white splained?
yes, white and Asian splained.
Wow.
And I responded, but that was like 4 months ago, so nobody's seen it now. But I did respond like 4 months later when I actually looked at it. Like, I didn't even know that it was here. But it made me so angry, and it's just like these things people call like new words and stuff are not. They're just black words you're just catching on to. That's all there are. And someone tried to explain to me how I was wrong about some shit I know. Anyway, back to
That
what
must have been really frustrating.
it is, man. It is because I take it upon myself to explain it anytime someone asks me what does this word mean. You know what I'm saying? And I explain it to them in a nice way, and I also explain it to them like it's really not a millennial word. I see how you feel that way, but it's just the problem. The thing is, Twitter has made everybody way more connected, way more faster now. You know what I'm saying? So shit gets out there now. Shit gets out there now. And
Yes.
like you're so late to the party on that word, just like twerk, right? There are people that still say Miley Cyrus invented the word twerk.
Wow.
Motherfuckers been twerking at least since '92. I'm sorry.
Well,
The black in
but
me
we
is coming now.
we got on this tangent because you felt like the writer dropped a little bit of that into the dialogue in
Well,
a way that took you out of it.
yeah, like but what's the one word when you try to make someone seem like they're crazy, but they're not?
Gaslighting?
Gaslighting, like shit like that. Like I said, I just hate like kind of woke books trying to say white men are evil, yada yada yada, all that shit. Mind you, I'm a black man, right? Because like I think that shit gets a little frustrating, and it's passing the buck along when really people. Never mind. What I'm trying to say is, despite all that's in this book, I really fucking enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed this book a lot, and I was angry that it was over. Despite some of my gripes about its wokeness,
Yeah.
if I wasn't informed on this stuff, it wouldn't even bother me. It's just that I'm on Twitter and Facebook and I happen to know what these things mean. But if I didn't know, I wouldn't be able to pick none of that up.
I feel like I also feel like if I revisited this in a few years when it would be less obvious that those were grabs at relevance, I feel like this may age really well actually.
Yes,
So like I feel like in like 3 or 4 years we're gonna really regret that this was canceled.
I think so too. Cause I think it's really damn good, man. Like I really do. It like you said, it's pulpy, right? Like it's a Vertigo book, which means
Mm,
it's a bit longer. But I read this thing in one night, like just like breeze through it in like 45 minutes. Like
yeah.
I was just enthralled reading it the whole damn time. I love every character in this book.
Awesome.
Yeah, so so I do have one complaint about the wokeness. I'm gonna tell you whether I'm gonna tell you where the wokeness really got me. Right?
Okay.
It's the black lady, the Rebecca. Right?
I can see that, yeah.
Like she really gets on my nerves, but I like her still. Don't get me wrong. It's that thing of like, because a white man wrote this, and like there's no problem with that, right? But like as a black person, I'm conflicted because on one hand, I kind of know black women like her, but on the
Hmm.
other hand, she seems stereotypical. You know what I'm saying? A
Yeah.
little bit. But I know black women like her, but it still seems kind of stereotypical. Like all of them, you know what I'm saying? Because everybody else is like, I guess some mix of Latino and white, right? And they're
Yeah.
just like normal, talk normal. She's the only one that really has the quote unquote attitude. She's the only one that speaks quote unquote in slang and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's really weird because, like, on one hand, I don't know, like, would I be happy either way? Like, I had to ask myself these things. Would I be happy anyway with that character, right? If they didn't portray her as like some black woman, or would I be mad? But he did, so I'm still kind of not mad, but like kind of apprehensive about it. So I don't know what I would want. You understand what I'm saying?
No, I do, because you're like, she's a fun character,
She is like, yeah, definitely.
but it's a little bit like, yeah, she definitely walks that line of being a caricature. And
And
I think that that's just maybe if we had more of her,
right.
or maybe if there was another black character in the book to show that not everybody's going to be like that.
A
um,
bit black, sassy black woman.
yeah. But no, I felt that a little bit too.
Uh,
And I think that part of that comes from also, I want to talk a little bit about the time period of the book.
one more thing about her. One more thing.
Okay.
This is where it got me though. Is when she kills her husband at the end, right?
Mm,
And like out of all the husbands, and look, don't get me wrong, dude, kidnap them, brainwash them, but I think they're not allowed to have sex. Like by all of them, he seemed like he was the nicest. Like he seemed to have like an actual thing for her.
right.
But then she says, you just want a black woman to feel some fetish, so you have an excuse to say the N word. And like that line would be okay
Yeah.
if they showed him doing any of
Yeah.
that, but he
Right.
didn't. So I'm like, who is this book preaching to exactly? Like what are you trying to say? Like, I'm not saying he necessarily deserves sympathy, but if you're going to say something like that, right? If you're going to accuse somebody of that, there should be some evidence of it, whether it be real life or in the story. You know what I'm saying? And like
Yes.
I found that weird. I found that part really preachy, and I was just like, I don't know about that particular speech because he showed none of those signs
I
whatsoever.
feel I feel like that's a really good example of what I was trying to say earlier, where I wish that the story showed there are details I wish the story showed that it didn't, and then a lot of the details we did see, I was like, okay, fine.
Yeah,
um, so I feel like a lot of what the story implied was as good or better than what actually made it onto the pages, and that's a really good example of it would have helped for us to see more examples of how the husbands were really treating their wives, to understand how long it had been going on, how well it was working, how much the women had cause to question their circumstances.
mm,
Because that's one of those things is there's a fine line between portraying the characters as like too stupid
right.
versus their captors as being like too clever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's related to what I wanted to talk about next, which was the time period where this book is seeming to take place, and how what um, what frustrated me about our big beautiful black woman was that she seemed to be the most anachronistic
Mm-hmm.
in this sort of make-believe 1950s that they had set up.
Right.
So I guess I was wondering,
But is it supposed to be 1950s? Like, are we
well, so
sure?
so that's the thing. It is explicitly taking place in like 2008.
Right.
But the men have trapped the coven in this cul-de-sac, and the women seem to know what year it is, and they seem to have some more technology than they would in the 50s. And then obviously some of them are familiar with contemporary slang.
Right.
But so the women know what year it is, but they also are content to stay home and literally bake cakes all day.
Mm.
And I feel like if we had a little more information about what the women were being told and what they believed about the world around them, it would be a little more satisfying.
Right.
Because like at the end, as the women break the spell that they've been under, they go and they put contemporary clothes on, right?
They do.
And I'm like, okay, so like they obviously know what the actual current styles are. How were they? Was it all just a spell? Like, how were they tricked into wearing, cotton tea dresses for however long they were stuck there?
Right. So
Did that bother you at all?
no, it didn't bother me. I mean, it was nice seeing the women bake. No, let me stop. No, actually, it didn't. It really didn't bother me. I mean, look, I had questions. What I assumed is right. It's one of those things like it's like Batman the animated series where
Mm-hmm.
it take place in modern times, but everything looks old. So I just
Yeah.
figured it was what I felt was these were these dudes' ideals because there's a bunch of white dudes and like the 50s was like the last time like that there was like the 50s is always looked back fondly for white people like for like, especially white males, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? So like I feel like they put them in those type of clothes because that's when men were men and women were women, yada yada yada. But at the same time, that was their choice, but it's still 2008 because Rebecca goes online shopping a lot apparently.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's what I mean is they can go online shopping, but the women aren't like on their phones the whole time.
oh no, well I figured it was just something. It was just the fetish of the males. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I assumed, right? This is just like these dudes want these women to dress up in these dresses with polka dots on them. You know what I'm
They're
saying?
very cute dresses too.
They look. All the women look pretty in this book. Like, and I hate to say that because I know it's supposed to be like them oppressed, but I'm like, you know, they did look really
Well,
nice.
but that's also you get a lot of character from seeing you understand a lot of the characters' personalities from seeing what they choose to wear under different circumstances.
Right.
And like that's also a little bit of, if you don't have anything else going on in your life, the thing that you control the most might be what your hair looks like every morning. So sure, go ahead and like spend time making it perfect. So like I really appreciate that detail, and I think it's really fun to see character come through like that. Especially in because like in superhero comics they're wearing the same costume the whole time, right?
Right.
So like unless you got like Kingdom Come Superman wearing the goth S, you don't really get any outward indication of how the characters feel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's refreshing when you get to see artists do that.
So Amanda, I'm gonna ask you the hard question now, right?
Okay, hard question.
Now the main antagonist, what's his name?
Is it Aaron?
I think so, right?
Yeah.
He tells shit. Why can't I remember another character's name? The main witch was
Is
it.
it Isadora?
Isadora, yes. A very witch-like name, by the way. Very witch-like name. He said, like, what I did was keep y'all alive the alternative was death, right? Which is no excuse, right? But he was just like, you draw your power from Satan and you cause Hurricane Katrina. So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say hypothetically he's telling the truth, right?
Yeah.
Should we really be rooting for these witches? Like, I mean, look. I know the book tells us to root for them, and I think we should. And there's a good chance he might be full of it. But we see what they're capable of, so it's not out the realm of possibility that they might have flooded New Orleans.
Yeah.
And they don't dispute that they power come from the devil either. And again, that
Yeah.
might change in later issues. But but from everything I see, right, from these witches, they are super. I mean, they want to be left alone, but they are super violent. You know what I'm saying? They take perverse pleasure from hurting people. You know what I'm saying? They may
Well,
not
and all of their magic is
blood
blood
man.
driven,
Yeah,
so they do. Yeah.
yeah. So like, I know we're supposed to be rooting for them, and I am. Don't I want to make that clear. But are we supposed to? Like, is this a book where we're not supposed to question, like, the intentions of these witches?
Um. Yeah. I mean, I did have one of I yes. I agree with you. I think it would have been really interesting to see this book continue and to see a little bit more nuance and like because the dispute is essentially shown that these witches always find each other in every life, and every life is ended when this organization of men finds them and kills them. And it's sort of like a cycle of retaliation.
Right.
Where it's like, you killed my grandpa, so I gotta kill you. And we don't really understand what initially caused the confrontation. Um, so I am very interested to see what the actual conflict is aside from just everybody holding grudges.
And like I said, I'm just going off the information I have, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If it goes farther and it's different, that's fine. But I'm just saying, as the information I have right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, the witches don't seem that much better than the white male patriarchy. In my opinion, like clearly the white dudes are evil, right? But like, there's not a lot, in my opinion, that necessarily endures me to the witches.
Yes.
Besides the book telling me I should like them, and I do like them. Don't get me wrong, I do like them a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the main conflict goes, I'm not sure if the dudes are wrong. If what they're saying is true,
Right.
and I'm not for sure that's intentional. I'm not for sure we're supposed to question it like that.
Well, I don't know. So this whole book has a very like Truman Show vibe to it.
Yes, yes.
And I feel like that means that you need to keep like, like the old joke is like, oh, like, but what if like the world outside the show was also in a show, right?
Right.
What if Matrix left the Neo, or what if Neo left the Matrix and he was just in a bigger Matrix? So I feel like I had a little bit of like that nesting doll feeling here where it was like, oh, what if part of the plan to keep the witches under control is to like let them escape?
Oh wow.
Or yeah, or like what if like the witches are actually like what if it's reversed? Like what if the witches are actually keeping this organization busy by letting them think they're controlled? I don't know. So I definitely once I picked up on sort of that Truman Show vibe, I was like, oh, this could have layers.
Gotcha.
This could be a spicy onion of a complicated story. Or it could just be sexy witches in cute outfits blowing up dudes.
I mean, but that's the thing.
I'm fine either way.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you take away all the like woke stuff and all that,
Yeah.
I'm actually okay with just sexy witches blowing up dudes. Like, I'm perfectly like,
Yeah.
I want the.
Charmed was on television for like 8 years
Yeah,
straight.
no, right, exactly. So like, The Craft is one of my favorite movies. So like, I'm all for sexy witches blowing up. White dudes. I'm not opposed to that. But look, I really love it. I guess my only complaint is my only real complaint is that it stops. It stops right when it was getting good. Like that seems to be
Yeah.
yeah, that seems to be my main complaint.
Well, it is possible that it'll come back on Not Vertigo somewhere.
Is do he have the rights to it? Because sometimes
Well, I mean, my understanding is that's how Vertigo worked, is it's like Image where the creators owned their IP a little bit more.
yeah, I mean yeah, I know, but sometimes I
No, I mean you're right. This is DC. If they can find a way to screw somebody over, they might.
ask Alan Moore, but but yeah, so like, do we want to speak about like speaking of all the wokeness? Do we want to speak about some of the allegory that's like in the book? You know what I'm saying? As far as like keeping women down and like, there's a lot here. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking of something specific, go ahead, get into it.
I like them taking a lot of pills. Like, that seemed odd, right? The gaslighting, right? Like what? You seen what last night? Nah, you didn't see nothing last night. That was just a dream. Like, it's not a very subtle book in this allegory.
Yeah.
Like I just wonder, like I don't have nothing in particular. It's just like, is there anything that you might have noticed? Like,
Um, well, so I guess those examples that you pointed out are elements in the story which were obviously ways for the men to control the witches,
right,
which also have pretty normal explanations. So like the pills that they were on, they were, they all had normal justifications, like, oh, birth control, blood pressure, anxiety, and they were given the same names as they would have in normal society. Like, I think one of the women, God, I forget what it was, but I was like, that's a real medication. Um, and it's kind of, as a reader, we're kind of assuming that they're not getting the real medication. It's something to keep them dulled enough so that they don't notice what's going on.
well, I definitely had a feeling of like men trying to control women's bodies, right?
Yeah.
Like I think they're all on birth control, because if you, okay,
They're all on birth control to stop them from getting their
periods,
periods, which
yeah.
was the thing that the men forgot about, was that the youngest witch got her period, and that counts as blood for blood magic.
It's weird, right? She gets a period, and that's kind of like the first downfall, right? Because that's when the cats start being active,
Yes.
and that's when they cover the camera, and like, one of the cats sacrifices themselves for Rebecca so she can fly.
Yeah.
Here's my thing, right? I understand he can just have his tail cut off. Like, did it have to be a whole decapitation? Poor thing.
Um, yeah, I know, but it was kind of cool.
It's messed up. We are both cat owners. Like,
We are. We are.
and I was just like, oh, the poor kitty. But yes, so what do you think about the men? Do you think they should have killed them all, including Aaron, or you think it's smart to keep him alive to try to get through whatever they're about to get through? Can we really trust him?
Um, okay, I do not believe that the witches can trust any of them.
Right.
Um, I do believe that it's smart to keep at least one of them alive because, like I said, we don't really know what the original conflict was here. We know that there's been several cycles of just retaliatory violence. But I feel like we need someone from the men's organization available to help explain what's going on that side.
Right.
And I think the idea is that, like, if they kill these men, then like the next generation is just going to come back after them. And the men were thinking the same thing on the other side. Like, if we kill the witches right now, we'll just get more witches again in 20 years. Um,
This is this is
so it's sort of like an endless cycle. And if you want to end the cycle, you have to do something different at least.
right. This is why I want. I need some black people on the men's side. See, this is what bothers me when it's woke. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it all falls on white men. You know what I'm saying? And like of course there's truth to that, right? I'm not saying that there's not, right? But I don't like the idea that it's just white men. Like, cause like I think that's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I really do. Like,
I also think it would have been interesting if there were some women working with them.
yeah, exactly. Like but again, that's the problem with the wokeness of the book. Like, it's a minor
Mm-hmm.
problem. It's just like he's clearly talking about evil white men, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like that's obvious. And like, I don't like blame. Like, I'm uncomfortable blaming any one group for everything, and like making any group, whether it's mine or whether it's me as a black person and you as a woman, and making them all good. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times in liberal politics, they have the tendency to do that. At least pay lip service to that. Like, all white men are evil, but all you black people and all you women are cool. None of you are evil or bad. It's clearly just these white men fault, and that's like, I have a problem with that on many levels. So I just think it would be nice to, like you said, have some women, have some black people. I don't like the idea that it's just evil white men, but that's what he's going for. So I don't know how angry I should be at that, but that's clearly what he's going for.
It is definitely it is definitely a problem when you simplify your idea so that it makes a more compelling story, is like losing all of that nuance. Um,
And like, this book is right to have plenty of nuance in it.
mhm.
And like, I think sometimes he sacrificed some of that nuance, to be more progressive. But overall, man, I really did like this book. Like I said, I'll be lying if I say I ain't like it. Let me see. Is there, like I said, there's a lot of talk about controlling women bodies, keeping them in. See, okay, this is where it's weird because like I don't really think that's men. I don't really think that most men fantasies anymore about having the woman stay home and bake all day. I think even the most sexist of men like don't mind women working.
I think that may have been a more practical,
Yeah, I
but
I
I
would like to
agree.
think.
I don't think this is really explicitly. I don't think this is a perfect realization of the fantasy that the male characters had. I think it was a mixture of practical and desired.
Yeah. So one more thing, I want to talk about sex.
Sure.
Now, apparently, they're not allowed to have sex with the women, but
Right.
and Aaron actually like throws one of them against like a wall.
Hmm.
But he kind of has sex with Isadora.
I mean, he masturbates on top of her.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Did he just rub his dick against her belly? Is that what happened to he Kim?
I believe that's what happened. Um,
Look, I just wanted to talk about this. I wanted to ask you about it so much. I want to call you when it happened. Like, Amanda, is he doing what I think he's doing? I'm sorry, I don't know why I find that funny. That's terrible. That's sexual assault. It's weird. They don't even play it like it's sexual assault yet. You know what I'm saying? But that's not rape. But that's pretty damn close, and it's fucked up. But it's just weird that he was like, "No, you can't have sex with them." Rubbing your penis against their stomach, on the other hand, is perfectly okay.
yeah.
That was weird, man. That was it was kind of creepy. It was
Yeah.
kind of funny by the way she was looking, and like and it's just all types of messed up, man. It just really is. It's just can't believe he put that in the book.
Well, I think that it was supposed to be supposed to be a signal of like how things were not quite right.
Right.
This is the sort of behavior that would make the women suspicious.
Right.
Because what you want to do is you want to, I mean, it's this Truman Show premise is very difficult to set up because you want to, on the one hand, show that the ruse is good enough that the characters aren't stupid. And then you have to specifically give them reason to question what's going on.
Right.
So, I mean, I think story-wise, it was supposed to play that role. I think it's also supposed to show sort of like that sort of like hypocrisy and to sort of give us like an idea of like what sort of guy this is. Because, like you said, he's like, no, like you can't have sex with them, but you can like pretend to have sex with them. That's different. This is definitely a guy, and I mean, he's a hypocrite. He's also using some magic
Yeah.
to get all of this done. So he is going after witches, but not afraid to use their own tools.
Exactly. By having the old lady, the covenant mother,
Yeah.
in the walls.
Right.
Which, by the way, is weird. Why have it in his house? Why not have her somewhere else that's not the house?
Yeah.
Is
That is unnecessarily risky. Maybe it was like the center of their compound or something. I don't know.
well, in my head canon was Isidore is so powerful that like she needs to be close to her to keep control.
Yeah.
Because Isidore does seem to be the most powerful out of the all the witches, right?
She definitely has the power that you want to deal with the least.
Yeah, yeah. So because like hers is like violence, right? And that her power like just pure unmitigated violence.
Pretty much.
Which I didn't even know that was a power.
I want to say it's almost like you know when you read the stories about like a woman moving a car to save her kids.
Yeah.
It's like that. Like it's like unlocking the rage and strength that is like primal to women when they're threatened, you know?
Gotcha.
It's sort of or like a lady hulking out thing.
Some more logical things was like, all right, so like these 5 or 6 women are a coven, right?
Yeah.
Like they're, and like he says that we have hundreds of y'all. Why not mix them up? Why keep the coven together?
My only guess would be that it has to do with like being able to cast the spell over them.
Okay. Because she was their coven mother. Okay. You know what? That's a good answer.
But I agree. It seems like it would be easier to not keep the women together who are able to remind each other of their repressed life memories.
I like that Isidore and Naya are not lovers, but they're still close friends, so there's still a connection there.
Yeah.
And they don't. Now, by the end of this, do they have their memories back fully? I don't think they do.
I don't think they do either.
Yes.
But they definitely remember how they like to dress.
They definitely do. They definitely remember that. So yeah. So Amanda, would you recommend this book? Yeah, because I think we're done.
Um, I think I would recommend it. It was enjoyable to read and it was well made and I really digged the art and the colors. And I mean, you know me, I like to sort of collect books that are easy to hand to an adult and say, so you're done watching Marvel movies for a while. Here's what else comic books do.
Right.
I think it's a really good example of that without being, I don't know, like I tried to recommend that my husband read Flintstones and he's like, I don't know, you almost cried reading that. I don't know if I want to go there. You're not going to cry reading this one, so it's maybe an easier sell.
Right. And like I said, it's real pulpy, right? It's really almost grindhouse like. I guess lack of a better term, right? Like
Absolutely.
like, you know what I'm saying, it's very much like late 70s, like grindhouse, kick ass women, like type of story.
If one of these women had a machine gun leg, it would not feel out of place at all, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Like if they ended up in the next, if in the hypothetical next issue, if they went down to Louisiana and there was an alligator with like a laser beam like helmet or something, that would also feel
Ooh,
normal.
I got one for you. Maybe not,
Okay.
maybe not a leg that's a machine gun, right?
Hmm.
But maybe one of them like lose a leg, right? And they put like a wooden peg on it, but it's also a
Yeah.
magic wand.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. No, everything is possible.
Yep. So I would definitely recommend this book, even though my apprehensive about the wokeness. I
Hmm.
would still recommend this book wholeheartedly. I think it's really good. I wouldn't tell anybody about the wokeness because, like I said, I think if it's one of those things that you're not educated on, you wouldn't even pick up on really. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's signs of a good writer, in my opinion. And I think Ben Blacker is like a really good writer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Amanda, what are we reading next week? Well, a couple of weeks from now.
I believe uh the next book we were going to take a look at was Wictive.
You mean the Wicked and Divine?
Uh-huh.
Is this going to be a thing?
It could be a thing.
Is this going to be like a thing where like you say just to get on my nerves?
We'll see.
So next time we are reading The Wicked and Divine, written by Karen Gillan. We are reading the first 2 volumes, so that's the first 10 issues, I believe. Yeah. So the first 2 volumes, the first 10 issues, that's what we're reading next time. Now, Amanda, if somebody want to talk to us about the patriarchy, what can they reach us?
We are on Twitter, which we love and hate, as Comic Book Club 52. You could email us, comicbookclub52@gmail.com. And you can also find us on Facebook as a Comic Book Club.
All right. I guess we'll wrap it up here. Guys, Happy New Year. And thanks for listening to our Alex Ross commentary from from December. That was fun and frustrating at the same time.
Yeah, it felt strange to look at art that wasn't drawn by Alex Ross and wasn't about the underlying archetype of the superhero, right?
Right. Well, yeah, okay, that's it. So I'm Jamil Payne.
I'm Amanda Comey.
And we are out.